Hi everybody, Dr. Mina McCullough here. Welcome to the second day of the challenge. I love the feet pictures. It made me so happy and excited to see everyone's feet. Is that weird? So in this video, I will talk about the different foot exercise tips that we will add in today, and I will also tell a little story about how I started investigating fascia before I became a physical therapist. So the tip of the day is the principle is pressure over bony surfaces. So with fascia, we can strategically activate different areas of our fascia by just knowing what bony surfaces we can put pressure through. And one of those bony surfaces is what I like to call the foot knuckles. So it's those mounds of your feet, like if your hands were your feet, right under the toes. And so we're not only going to hold the splay of our toes, but we're going to push those foot knuckles into the ground with that splay held really strong and tight. And that will start to activate more muscles in our feet. So here's an analogy about fascia. So if our body was like a map, and fascia showed all of the roadways and all of the streets and all of the landmarks and all of the museums and greenlands and lakes and everything, but the muscles were the roads. So if we zoom out from the roads and look at everything in the map, we also get an idea of the fascia, because the fascia is the whole map. And so not only do we see a big picture view, but we see how the whole map is connected and how the community interacts in this ecosystem within our body. So if we think of our body as a fascial map, then we can think about working our foot right now as working in a fascial foot community, because there's over 33 bones in our feet. So think of all the joints we have just within our feet. So if those joints aren't activated and aligned, we can't start to activate our balance, our core, our fascia, and our joint alignment all the way up to the core yet. So we're sticking in the feet, but we're activating more of those joints by taking those foot knuckles and pressing them into the ground. So I'm going to show you real quick, and I'm going to turn this around. So it's a little dirty out here, but here is my foot. These are my foot knuckles underneath here, and you can feel this little bone. They're called metatarsal heads. And so I'm going to spread my toes apart, and then I'm going to have to lean forward in the chair a little bit and then press those knuckles into the ground with some pressure, leaning through the chair, and relax. And spread, and keep them as spread as you can as you press those knuckles into the ground, and relax. Great. So a quick story about how I came across fascia. So when I was in a lot of pain before I was diagnosed with anything, I was 25 and it happened suddenly. It was after a mountain biking trip to Colorado, and that's actually why I later got diagnosed with Lyme disease. I was in a lot of pain. I was actually having nerve pain in a lot of areas of my body, and it was moving around. It had moved from my hip to my knee, and at the time it was in my knee, and I had been going to all sorts of practitioners, chiropractors, physical therapists, doctors, and I felt a little bit discouraged, actually a lot discouraged, because I wasn't getting any help. I didn't feel listened to. I wasn't getting any relief. And so finally I had met this one body worker who did this special type of release, and he was the first person to ever actually make me feel better immediately. And he did it with this hands-on release, and I was so enamored and taken back by the fact that he helped me so quickly and seemed to have knowledge of something that all of these other people didn't. And so I asked him, how can I learn more? What did you do? I don't understand, how and why you're different. And so he told me to get a book. And that book was the first book that I ever had come across. And this was over 10 years ago, and it was about fascia. Well, I actually didn't have a lot of money at the time, because I was a college student at Texas State University in undergrad. And so my boyfriend at the time was a cyclist, and he was reading all about how to train to be a professional cyclist. And so he was telling me that he got a book from the library that the library didn't already have. He actually got the library to order him a book from filling out a form, and got the book delivered to the library, and then was able to rent it out. So I actually filled out one of those forms and had them buy the Anatomy Trains book that has great pictures on different fascial lines in it. And so that was the first book that I read on fascia. However, I didn't read the whole book at the time. I looked at the pictures, and I didn't buy my own copy until many years later, because it was just so much information to intake all at once. But I was really happy that I had run into him. My knee pain had come back a couple days later, and I kind of realized that, you know, what he did worked, but I needed to find ways that I could treat myself at home to be able to repeat these techniques over and over again. So I've just taken so many years to figure a lot of ways to self-treat myself at home. So that is how I was introduced to fascia. Thanks for listening. And make sure to do those 50 reps, toe splay, toe pressure, down into the ground with those pressure point presses. Go.